Blake, what's the most egregious thing you've ever said to your boss?
Like that I've said about them to their face, or in a group chat, or in therapy, or never mind.
Welcome to the Church Gear Podcast, where we pull the tech out of the booth and onto the stage to share the most outlandish stories and hidden wisdom from the tech trenches. And now, here are your hosts.
Our host, Blake Hodge, is a man who has finally gained enough discernment to know when not to answer that question on a hot mic. And I'm here with my co-host who only uses the coldest mic in town, Toby Walters.
And by asking that question, I'm wondering if you would refer to me, or if you would refer to Brian, or maybe a previous boss. How many bosses do you think, just if you ballparked, that you've had in your...
It's a good question. Probably 15.
Okay.
If I was answering about you, I would have said egregious things. The reason I didn't say anything negative is I was like, I love my boss right now. I absolutely love him.
Once I stopped being your boss and gave you a better boss, now you love your boss.
Yes.
Yeah, you're welcome. See, that's just good leadership on my part.
That's a weird paradox there, bro.
Yeah. Without naming them, how old were you when you had your worst boss that you can think of?
Oh man, that's so tough. I'm going to define worst boss. I'm going to define worst boss as I brought them a problem that was going to make me leave and the organization suffer every month for 6 months, and they never fixed it.
Okay.
And so then I had to leave. And so I would say I was in my early 20s.
And I'd bring that problem to you here at Church Gear every month, but it's actually you. So it's kind of like, mutually assured destruction.
Yeah, you got to find a way to get rid of me.
Yeah. So by no means my worst boss, best boss, but in my early to mid 20s, I, along with 3 other guys in our early to mid 20s, decided to launch a church. Blake, can you imagine going to a church where there are 4 early 20-somethings that are manning the ship?
Yes, I can. I can imagine it. You didn't say, is it a good idea? I can imagine it.
So obviously there's a lot of passion, a lot of energy, a little bit of a lack of maturity.
No organization.
Just saying things to each other that, should never be said to anybody.
We don't do sermons. We just do Hot Take Sunday.
Yeah. So it was a lot of fun. A lot of it was a lot of fun. It did grow reasonably well. Like after 10, 15 years, they celebrated like 500 people. So, I mean, it's one of the, it's a very small percentage of churches that grow that high and then last. So it's, ultimately it's a really awesome story.
Is it still alive?
It transferred to a different church. So it's under a different, like they kind of combined, it went under a different name.
So when you walked out, you threw the Molotov cocktail.
Exactly.
Okay.
So early on, we're 4 guys and we're button heads all the time. We're really struggling. And then one day our lead pastor comes to us and says, "Hey guys, I've decided we're all going to go to a conference."
Now, your lead pastor is also early 20s.
Yes.
Okay.
He is actually younger than me.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he says, we're all going to go to a conference. We're going to go to a leadership conference at this church out in Texas. It's called C3. And I was like, this sounds awesome. And he kind of like pumped us up and he told us all about it, like all these cool breakouts and cool things that we can learn. We can also like get away on a trip and go on a trip together and bond together. I'm like, this is great.
This sounds amazing.
Yes. And he said, but one problem is you all have to pay for it on your own.
You know how much I can do at Church Gear if I'll pay for it on my own? Last night, Toby, as I was leaving the warehouse, our operations guy was talking about his budget. And he said, yeah, I don't know if I'll have money for that. And Anna said, yeah, I don't know how you would. And I went, well, just so you know, Anna, he means like Church Gear's money. Yeah. And then we all started. So then we started laughing like, what if Toby paid you the operational budget and was ever left over? That was your money. And he said, great. We're not buying packing materials. I'll just put a shipping label on every piece of gear. That will work.
So, yes, we had the unfortunate reality of realizing we were going to have to pay for our own flights and hotels. But
you still did it?
Yes, we still did it. So we went and we got there and man, the conference was humming. And I'm like, man, they really just kick it off big. And come to realize, and my pastor kind of came to us and said, so guys, the conference started yesterday.
So how many days did you miss? You missed one day.
We missed
how many days was
day.
The conference?
I think it was like 2.5 and we missed one of them.
Gracious.
I know. So clearly organization wasn't our strength. Clearly we were not thrilled with our leader at that point. He had gotten the dates wrong and we had paid to go there anyways. But again, let's put on our happy faces. We're young, we're energetic. The first time we'd seen anything like that, we were at that point, we're probably a church of 150 to 200, somewhere in there. And to go to, C3 was at Fellowship, one of the biggest churches in the country, and just seeing the visuals, seeing the production, seeing the energy and the experience and all that, like, it was wild. And so that night we go out to dinner with a group of pastors, and it's like friends of our lead pastor's dad. So all these men that he looked up to, that had like mentored him, that he really respected their churches and their leadership, and we're sitting around dinner. And remember, I had said we had about 150 or 200 people. And so as I don't know the pastors mean to do this, but I think they often do it, just accidentally flex like, oh, how big is your church? And so my pastor says, oh yeah, we're about 350, 400 people. And at the dinner around all these pastors, I'm like, what? No, we aren't. And so I totally called BS.
Sounds like me telling our podcast stats. Yeah, we're right after Joe Rogan.
So you might be surprised, Blake, that he didn't take very kindly to being called out in front of everybody. And he let me know what he thought about that in front of everybody.
What did he do to you? What did he say? Is that why you have that scar on your eye?
Exactly. He punched me in the face. No. Yes, he kind of like browbeat me in front of everybody. And then we had a conversation, which we should have both been mature enough to know we should have had off camera, off screen. But it wasn't my most shining moment, nor was it his. I mean, just a couple guys in our 20s with all this energy and fire and, no wisdom. What could go wrong?
A lot could go wrong. And so a lot could go wrong on this podcast if we don't have any wisdom. So we're going to import some. Introducing the executive pastor at Fellowship Grapevine, and currently dead to me because he's a Cowboys fan, Dave Clark. Dave, welcome to the pod.
Hey, it's great to be with you guys. Thanks for having me today.
So how's that whole Cowboy fan thing going for you?
Not very well. Yeah, I think we're on like a 30+ year drought now of anything successful, but we're one of the most valuable franchises, and I don't understand. And we're the most mediocre team probably on the planet. So not going very good.
Blake, did you watch the documentary on Netflix?
Toby, I am a Redskin. I cannot bear to watch that much Dallas content unless it's negative. If it ends negative, does it go bad for them?
Well,
yes, it eventually kind of does.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in. I'm so in. You should have told me that.
I mean, it highlights the 90s when they won, when they were America's team. I'm out. But then it
kind of shows you the climb in the heyday and then the sharp fall.
Yeah.
I'm surprised Jerry Jones was willing to participate in that then.
Money, 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 money.
That's true.
It's publicity, baby.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Dave, C3. Now, I assume I'm talking like 2004. So you weren't there in 2000. You're not responsible for telling my pastor the wrong day, are you?
No, not quite yet. Wasn't there in 2004. I came on staff here in 2009. So it was just a few years later. I got graduated Bible college in 2004. So I wasn't quite here yet. Yeah.
Can somebody fact check that? I think he's lying to us. He's trying to get out of the date thing.
Totally. So besides, I don't care if you're a Dallas Cowboys fan. I mean, that's your own problem. Blake hates you for it, but we'll move past it. Give us a little snapshot of your background. How'd you get your start in ministry, and then your role at Fellowship, and what led to what you do today?
Yeah, I grew up as a pastor's kid, and a lot of pastors' kids kind of end up being a church rat. As we're in church all the time, you're there, you're doing whatever. And, I kind of gravitated towards tech and media and production. I remember tearing apart my first computer when I was like junior high, just wanted to figure out how it worked and broke it and, tried to figure out putting it back together. And so just always gravitated towards church production, ran audio, ran lights, in those days, and, all analog consoles and, I was like, hey, I'll figure it out. I'm here anyway, so I might as well learn it. And so just kind of developed a passion really for technical arts and production and media, just helping out. My dad pastored in the Philadelphia area, and just really, really kind of cut my teeth that way, and ended up feeling called into ministry. Went to Bible college up in Philadelphia, and it was a pastoral major with a minor in music, and really church media. I went to college in 2000, and there really wasn't a whole lot unless you were going to go to Full Sail. Like maybe, that's kind of it. Yeah. But there wasn't a lot out there. But I just got involved in everything I could. Had a pirated copy of Adobe Premiere, and taught myself how to edit videos, so probably a lot of people can relate to that. But it was just, hey, I wanted to learn. I wanted to figure it out. YouTube wasn't what it was. And so you just kind of, you got your hands on what you could and asked a lot of questions to a lot of different people that was smarter than me. and just started developing, skills and talents through making mistakes and learning and asking questions.
Yeah. And so what led you to fellowship?
Yeah. So out of Bible college, graduated. I met my wife there. We got married after our senior year. And then I moved to Washington, D.C., and I was on staff at a church there for 5 years with National Community Church, Mark Batterson, and was there from 2004 to 2009. Was there doing media and videos and production. And I ended up being a campus pastor at one of the sites there for a season. And, we were doing life in the big city and trying to figure out like, okay, God, are we raising a family here? Are we putting roots here? Is this where we're supposed to be? And really just didn't have a peace and really was praying for God to open a door. And I came to C3 Conference in 2007 with Pastor Mark in DC. And same thing, same experience, was blown away. I was like, wow, this is incredible. Look what this church is doing and a part of, and creative ways of presenting the gospel. I was like, this is so cool. So I developed a relationship with one of the pastors that was on staff here at the time. And in early 2009, he picked up the phone and called me and said, hey, would you ever think about moving to Texas? We've got an opportunity and an opening here, right? As kind of we were praying and having this stirring of like, hey, can we do life in DC forever? Is this where we're supposed to be? And we felt like God opened that door. And so we told our senior pastor at the time, hey, we'd love to go look at this opportunity. And he said, hey, go interview if it's meant to be. And if it's a God thing, it'll be blessed and happen. And so we came and interviewed and ended up moving to Texas, transplanting to Texas in 2009, and came on staff at Fellowship, and worked under Pastor Ed and Lisa's leadership here. And it's been great. And kind of the role has evolved over the years for sure.
Yeah. So Blake, did you notice that he was in DC? He had the opportunity to be a Redskins fan.
Did.
This man lived in DC, Philadelphia, and Texas. I mean, he's just missing New York on his bingo card to do the whole NFC East.
And my wife is from upstate New York, so she's from Syracuse area.
Is she a Giants fan?
No, but her family kind of is a little bit here and there. But can you really be a Giants fan? I mean, they're just about as bad as the Cowboys.
Yeah,
so.
Not since Eli.
Okay, so I want to make sure, right. Maybe I missed this. When you took the job in Texas, was that you taking a tech job that you then got promoted to executive pastor eventually?
Yeah, so I originally came on staff and I oversaw our video production area here at Fellowship. So weekend elements, videos, promos, life story videos, and kind of started out in that area. And after about a year and a half or so, I got asked to take on kind of live production side as well. And began kind of running that team, and then IT, kind of the IT side of things, and kind of oversaw those areas as well. And then it's just kind of evolved. And, over about 2.5, 3 years ago, Pastor Ed asked me to kind of oversee staff and kind of our staffing, hiring and firing, and, conflict and issues and all kind of that side. So that kind of has evolved into more executive pastor role, and a lot of calendaring and schedule and just life of the church and what we're doing ministry wise. And so kind of have my hand in a little bit of everything over the years. I call me Slash, it's like this slash that. And a lot of guys can relate to that. If you're in a church and you just kind of, well, I do this and I do that and I do that. And, just tried to be a good steward with whatever God's placed in my hands, and, learn to the best of my ability and ask lots of questions.
You know what Dave's problem is, Toby? It's not that he's a Cowboys fan. It's that he's too competent, because in his story, he showed competency and they said, can you do another thing and another thing and another thing? Dave, you got to do passable mediocrity. Mediocrity.
That's your whole ticket to Blake.
Yeah. If you get promoted too much, you just too much stress. Too much
That's
stress.
kind of the Commander's philosophy too. Passable mediocrity.
Yeah.
You walked into that.
I hate how well that landed.
So Dave, so much of our audience, so much of church production leaders, and I'm not saying it's a good or a bad thing. It's reality. Often they do a season of ministry, and then they end up selling real estate, or they go work out in the corporate space or something.
Work for a manufacturer, an integrator somewhere.
Yeah. And so I'll just make an assumption that you are at least on a trajectory to live ministry as a career. Can you talk to us kind of the difference between ministry as a season versus ministry as a career?
Yeah. I definitely think ministry is a calling, and I think a lot of guys that get into maybe church production or tech, they love that aspect of the church, but maybe it's not necessarily the calling that God's placed on their life. And I think that's okay, and as you're kind of fleshing out and figuring out like, hey, am I supposed to do this? Can I do this forever? Am I really called to full-time ministry, even if it's tech ministry, and you're kind of figuring that out. And I don't know that everybody gets that immediate clarity of like, yes, I'm called to do this for the rest of my life, no matter what. I think some guys get it, and some gals get it, and that's they like, no, without a shadow of a doubt, I'm called to this. And then some guys, I think, are figuring that out, especially at a young age, where you're kind of testing the waters of, I like this, I think I like this, I gravitate towards this. But maybe it's not necessarily the call on their life of like, this is what I'm doing, come hell or high water. And so I think there is a fleshing out of that happens with people. I hate when guys leave for the wrong reasons. And I know people talk about church hurt, and I think church hurt is overused. I think people hurt people. And I think that's whether you're in the church or out of the church, there are people that are hurt by other people, and I think the church gets blamed. Big C church gets blamed for a lot of that. And people end up, walking away from the church, which is awful. The only thing that Jesus ever built is the local church. And, hey, I believe, everybody should be connected and plugged into a Bible teaching, Bible believing, encouraging, life-giving body of Christ, a local church. And so everyone should find one and be a part of one. But, I know people leave for a season or for a reason. But, one of my passions is to keep guys in the game, and so I love to talk to guys who are in that kind of, figuring out like, is this what I'm supposed to do? And, I think there's a healthy way to navigate that.
Yeah. I think a lot of our audience, they will be in their season of ministry and production, and maybe they feel like they kind of reach the ceiling of, I'm over the production ministry, but still I don't have what I see as a career path to move forward. And either maybe they're not, some people simply aren't interested in moving up the kind of proverbial ladder in the church world to become, creative pastor or executive pastor, what it is. But some are, they just don't know how. So talk to us about how you did that and what's some realistic steps that other people can take to level up their leadership like you did.
Yeah, I think being vulnerable. I think a lot of people are afraid to have tough conversations with those that are over them, and I obviously I don't know everybody's leadership scenario and who your senior pastor is or who your leader is. But I think a lot of people, we end up having conversations in our mind of like, well, I can't talk to him or I can't say anything because if I do, they're going to say this. Like we've already determined in our mind, like, hey, if I have that conversation with this guy, this is how it's going to go. And 9 times out of 10, I believe that's the enemy. And he's selling a lie to you that you can't be vulnerable. You can't open up. You can't have conversations where you think there's conflict either in your heart or maybe in the ministry that you're a part of. But if you're willing to be vulnerable and open up and say, hey, I love this, but I'm unfulfilled over here. Or man, I really have a passion for this over here. And you're open and honest with those who are leading you. I believe God honors that. And I believe that there's a path forward, whether maybe it ends up being outside the church. But man, you do that in a God-honoring way that honors the leadership that you're sitting under, honors the church that you've been a part of. But I think too many people, and I see it here even within, our church, people are afraid to have those hard conversations and they're just like, well, I can't say that. I can't have that conversation because I already know how that's going to act. Well, no, you don't. I would just encourage you, be bold. Have that courage to step up and have those conversations with those who are in leadership and do it in the right way. I mean, the Bible tells us to approach it that way. Yeah.
So you're at Fellowship, you're production director at this time. I don't know if that was your exact title, but for all intents and purposes, Ed Young is your pastor. So very notable, very high level pastor. Can you as a production of Fellowship, and I'm asking literally, could you in that position go to Pastor Ed and have those honest conversations? Or is it like, no, I've got to go to my level above me? Like,
absolutely. Like there was a season where there was another person that was over me, another staff pastor, and a guy that I greatly respect and love. And he was kind of my direct report. So there were conversations that I had even with him. And, I have a heart for people. I love the tech aspect of it, but I always feel like there's a piece missing for me when I'm not able to rub shoulders with others and Hey, some people you're wired where, man, I want to be in a rack. I want to be hooking up gear. I want to be testing, and I want to be, making sure we're ready for the weekend. And that's total fulfillment for you. And that fills your bucket, man. That's awesome. And then there are some people that are like, man, if I'm behind a rack all day, I want to jump off the roof.
Yeah.
It's like, I need people in my life, and I need to have some social interaction. And so I love the people aspect side. So I've always enjoyed the other aspects of ministry, of being around people and loving on people and being the hands and feet of Jesus in a tangible way with, people are coming to church every week and they're dealing with stuff. They're giving God a chance, and so what are we doing to help introduce them to Christ and help them grow in their faith and help them, mature in that. And so to me, it's the awesome part of technical and production ministry is you get to marry those two, especially when you're working with volunteers and people who are a part of the church. If you're leading a technical or production ministry, chances are you are the pastoral care and pastoral ministry for a lot of those people in your church. You're the highest touch person that they're going to have interaction with because they're serving in your technical ministry. So, man, do you know what's happening in their lives? Are you checking on them? Are you sending them a text? Hey, praying for you this week. Anything I can be praying for specifically, like that goes a long way. People are only going to show up so often to push a button, tweak a dial, and so I love that part of it.
So talk to that person that he's the rack and you use church rat. So we'll call him a rack rat. This person's saying, I just love the technical side of things. I want to use that as, my ministry to the church to serve in that way. And now, and we talk about this all the time on the podcast, that ministry is about people. He's like, now you want me to lead people? Like, I'm a super introvert. People scare me. Like, how can that specific personality still love and develop people and disciple?
Yeah, man, I would just encourage you, be willing to be stretched. We use a verbiage here at Fellowship called comfortably uncomfortable. I'm comforted by Christ because of what Jesus has done for me, because I'm saved, because I'm rescued. But now my calling is to get uncomfortable for him, right? So I have the comfort and the peace. He says his yoke is easy and his burden is light. And once we've accepted him, right, I'm comforted by that. But now, am I willing to get uncomfortable for him? Am I willing to get outside of my comfort zone for Christ? So I think there's an aspect and an element where we'll all have to be willing to be stretched outside of our comfort zones, outside of even our natural gifts and abilities. That's a healthy thing to be challenged regularly. That's why we set New Year's resolutions and New Year's goals, right? Is so I can be stretched and I can get outside of my norm, get outside of my comfort zone, and I can grow in Christ. I can grow as a person. I can grow as a leader. So I think those are all like really, really healthy things. And so for the rack rat, that just loves the gear and to focus on that, man, I would encourage you to be willing to be challenged, to get uncomfortable. And maybe that's as simple as, man, who's the last person you invited to church? Of one person this week, make it a goal. It's like, man, who can I, as I'm going to buy coffee, as I'm, going through the drive-through, as I'm going to a restaurant, as I'm dropping my kids off at school, who's one person that I can build a relationship with and I can invite them to church so they get to experience what your blood, sweat, and tears behind that rack is helping to be a part of. Yeah. Right. And that's just that getting outside of your comfort zone. And maybe that's not natural for you and that makes your bones shake, but like that's a healthy practice of like giving ownership, and it changes the way you see what you're a part of. It changes the way you see church. It changes the way you see Sunday. When you have someone sitting in the seats that's experiencing the worship, the message, the videos, all of it, you start looking at all that stuff through different eyes because someone that you invited, that you have skin in the game, that you're praying comes to Christ is sitting in that chair. And so, man, now that effort and energy that's going into that production, you're like, dang, I hope this person gets it. I hope I did everything I could do. Like it really does make a difference. So I would encourage that person, be willing to be stretched, be willing to get outside the comfort zone. But hey, God's gifted you and given you a great ability to do what you do. Man, celebrate that. That's awesome. But also be willing to be stretched.
Yeah. If you want to go the other direction and climb up the leadership ladder at a church, are you going to have to go to seminary?
No, I mean, I went to Bible college. I didn't go to like a traditional seminary. I went to Bible college, pastoral ministry major. And man, we have guys that are on our team that are within our youth ministry, within our kids ministry that have not gone to seminary. Some of them now are kind of doing some online courses and some different things to get studied. And we're helping guys even do that within our staff and in our team. But no, man, if you feel the call of God on your life, whether it's production or whether it's full-time vocational ministry in some other avenue, man, I would encourage you just to get in a great culture, church that can help you stretch and help you grow and help you experience some things. And I would say, honestly, like seminary and Bible college, there's a lot of stuff that you don't experience. That's like, what am I doing? I'm sitting in a classroom, and there's some great knowledge and stuff you're going to learn, but it's not really helping you with what you're going to experience in the church world.
Yeah.
Like Bible college or seminary, it's not really preparing you for the practical side of what you're going to do and experience in the local church. So, man, get in a local church and just, man, start stretching your legs.
We're going to clip this and send this over to DTS to, Dave Clark just said that the seminary is totally unnecessary.
Yeah. No, I mean, obviously there's great reason to study and to show yourself approved as scripture tells us. And there's lots of ways to do that. To go spend 4 years in a seminary, man, I would say go find a great church that you can be a part of, get involved, get under someone who, man, you say, that guy's got it. He understands what it means to follow Jesus and grow disciples. And he gets whatever aspect of ministry, production. Like, man, I want to be like that guy. Go work under him, and just say, man, I want to be your shadow for a few months, and I want to learn from you, and go experience that. And then, if you want to go study Greek and Hebrew, more power to you, and you can do a lot of that stuff online. I know, I love Nathan Finocchio is a good friend of ours. What he's doing with Theos U, man, it's a great way to get some great theology training without having to go commit to a 4-year school.
Yeah. Blake, do you know any Greek or Hebrew?
I do not. But what I do know is a lot of church texts that sometimes can feel a little stuck. So if they were feeling stuck and they were trying, they see you, they're like, oh my gosh, you made it to executive pastor. There is another path forward. Earlier, when Toby asked you the question on how to advance, you said be vulnerable, have the conversation. Is there any other tips you would give them? Just if we're looking for somebody who's stuck and they feel like they're drowning and they have no path forward, any other tips for them to, pull off the career path that you've done?
Yeah. I think a lot of church techs, production, man, gosh, even in the worship department, oftentimes can isolate themselves even within their space in the church. And they're like, well, this is what I do and this is all I do. But man, look for opportunities for ministry within the church that are outside of that area. And, it's not mandatory. Maybe you're not being told you have to be there. But man, go to that men's thing, go to that women's thing, go be a part of an outreach, go be a part of whatever, not because you're told to, but because it allows you to stretch ministry legs, be around people, go be a part of a connect group or a small group or a Bible study class or whatever it is in your context. Like, start serving in another area as obviously time allows, not forsaking your other responsibilities within tech and production, but go stretch your ministry legs in some other areas. If you really feel like, man, is there a way for me to grow outside of just this realm of production or IT or whatever it is? Like, man, can I stretch my legs outside of this area and go start to experience and, see if there's a greater call on your life to be a part of some of those areas of ministry and see what God will do. He'll open doors.
Yeah. Blake, I'm going to say something slightly sacrilegious. Okay.
That's every episode, and then we have to delete it and edit it. I already know what you're going to say. He said, go to the women's ministry event. I was like, no, Toby, don't show up to women's ministry events. All right, that was not an invitation.
That's not where my mind went. But my mind went to most pastors are visionaries. I'm also a visionary. We're all a little bit crazy. It's not untrue. Like, to have the ideas that we get in our head, like, you have to be a little bit crazy. So I'm going to pitch this question today, but I'll pitch it to you first. Like, building trust with a wild visionary. Like, what are some of the ways that you've tried to build trust with me, Blake, so that then you could be here at Church Gear long term and level up?
Well, the tough thing is I had to get you to stop taking so much shrooms to have visions. I was like, that's not how you're a visionary. put me on the spot. I don't ever get interviewed. I'd say that in my 5 years here, I actually was telling this to one of my boys in youth ministry last night, that you can build trust block by block over years and you can destroy it in an instant.
Mm-hmm.
And so never do anything that's going to destroy it in an instant. Have proactive communication, have wisdom and discernment on when you should ask for forgiveness rather than permission, or when you should ask for permission rather than forgiveness. And then the boring answer is like, just consistently do what you say you're going to do. And like, that's not a fun answer to do that for years. But like, I think that's the first thing that comes to mind for me.
Yeah. And Dave, Pastor Ed is a crazy, visionary. How did you specifically gain his trust over the years that now you're in, a seat of trust with him? Like you're over the staff on his behalf.
Yeah, sure. I love what you said on just building trust. And I think that happens over time. It's not going to happen overnight, but consistency and, continuing to show up and be willing to say, I'm sorry, I screwed up. Will you forgive me? So many people choke on that. When you make a mistake, instead of trying to placate for it, instead of trying to brush it off or give excuses, say, I'm sorry, I screwed up. I want to learn from my mistakes. And that will help you grow in your leadership in a major way. But that's something so many of us, because we get our identity wrapped up in what we do. All of us do. Whether you're in church tech.
Toby, we've already talked about the therapy you and I both had to go to working at Church Gear. Keep going, Dave. You're on the right path.
I mean, whether you're in church tech, whether you're in worship, whether you're in, hey, maybe you're the senior pastor, maybe you're the music minister, maybe you're the kids pastor, maybe you're the youth guy. Like oftentimes we wear that like it's a plate across our chest of like, this is who I am. So when critique comes and someone comes and says, hey, you didn't do a very good job on that. Like that wasn't great. We crumble. And we say, oh, they don't like me. They don't love me anymore. They don't appreciate me. Woe is me. Boo-hoo. And we start crying and we curl up in a corner instead of saying, you know what? I've got a jersey on. Leadership has put me here. I'm on the team. They're course correcting me like a good coach would. They're saying, you can't miss that tackle. You can't miss that block. You got to make that play. Okay, yes, coach, I got you. I'm gonna learn from that, and I'm gonna grow, and I'm gonna move into different. But oftentimes, because we wear our identity so closely tied to what we do, our feelings get hurt, we get crushed, we get emotional, we go into the corner, and we get a little dumpy on ourselves, and we say, oh, no one loves me anymore, and I can't do this anymore, and we start running and hiding, or we get apathetic, and it's like, well, that's what they want to do. It's not the way I would do it. It's just like, that's what they want, and you're no longer in the vision and under the vision and with what's going on. And you're kind of now dividing, what's happening at the church, and you get this apathetic, I don't care attitude, and it's toxic, so it's saying, I'm sorry, saying I screwed up, learning from mistakes, being consistent, asking great clarifying questions. Hey, when a leader comes to you and they've got this harebrained idea and it's like, hey, I want to do this. Like, this would be great. Okay, man, I love that. I want to get on board. I need to understand it a little more. So, okay, when you say this, what about this? How about this? How do you see it in your head playing out? Is it like this? Is it like that? And I think oftentimes asking those clarifying questions puts us closer to the bullseye of making sure we have the vision of what's in our leader's head, where oftentimes we run with the first question or first statement and we go, okay, I'm going to run. And they look at it and they go, that's not what I wanted. Well, it's like, I didn't ask any clarifying questions. And so I just took the first thing that came to my mind when they said what they said, but we weren't on the same page at all. And now people are frustrated and mad. And, I spent 60 hours on this over the last, 3 days, and I don't know what I'm going to do anymore. And, feelings are hurt. And now we're back at square one. And it's really because I failed to clarify and I failed to ask questions. So I think a lot of those are just self-leading principles. And they're not easy. Our pride gets in the way all the time, man. It's like, I want to be the guy that has it all figured out and I have all the answers and I never make mistakes and I'm all polished and I look good and I smell good and, whatever. That's how all of us want to present ourselves. But if we're willing to be vulnerable and we're willing to say, I don't have all the answers. I'm not sure how to do this yet. I screwed up. Will you forgive me? I'm sorry. Those are some powerful words in our lives. If we're willing to be vulnerable with those who are leading us, that'll go a long way.
Toby, does he like have a camera on our whole operation? I feel naked right now. He's seeing into our souls.
I'm going to again liken myself to a pastor in the sense that we're both visionaries. Like I will get a vision in my head. It will be a full movie. I will watch the movie in my head. It will have every detail. It's amazing. And then I'll say, hey, Blake, can we do this? And Blake gets a completely different movie in his head. And it's taken me over and over and over to realize Blake can't see the movie in my head. I have to explain it. And then on your side, just like you said, like you've learned, like you have to ask so many clarifying questions.
Yep.
I literally will ask people questions to the point of annoyance now. I'm like, is this right before Christmas? I was like, Toby, is this what you, or maybe it was Thanksgiving. I was like, is this what you meant? Is this what you meant?
Yeah, I'd rather that than the other side though. You know, it's like, wear them out, man. Ask those questions.
Yeah.
I'd also just affirm the whole like owning your mistakes and stuff. It's so funny. The moment you own a mistake, the person goes from coaching you and chastising you to immediately then defending you. Like they actually defend you about your mistake. You're like, hey, it's not that bad. But the moment you give any kind of excuse, oh my gosh, it just, it's so funny how admitting something can take the air out of it immediately, but then excuses just double the awfulness of it.
And guess what? Newsflash. I'm not perfect. I'm going to screw up. I'm going to make a mistake and I'm going to make a mistake again, probably very soon. And so are you. And so it's like, just live in that, you know? And it's like, hey, you know, I want to not make a mistake. I want to do it right, but I'm going to screw up, you know? And so it's like, there's freedom in that, you know, not to be lazy, not to screw up, but there's freedom in that of just like, man, being vulnerable.
Yeah. I know every leader responds differently. I think generally when, you know, you'll come like really like hat in hand, be all sheepish and Toby, I screwed up.
I hit your house again for a second time.
Most of the time I just kind of laugh at you. I'm like, you dork. No big deal. It's the, you know, hey, I did the same thing again. Hey, I did the same thing again. Like that will wear a leader out if you're not learning from
100%.
your mistakes.
100%.
The other thing I want to comment on what Dave said was so wise was not having your identity. Dave, that was such a big one for me that ironically, I wore brand director on the plate on my chest. Like I was cracking up when you said that because all the ideas have to be mine. All of the best moves had to be mine. Like it made me ironically worse at my job because I was so proud of my job. Like that's such wisdom from you.
And so many people get trapped in that, you know, whatever the role is. And I think the church world is probably even more susceptible to that. And it divides us instead of unites us. And, you know, it causes where everybody wants to work in their silo. And it's like, well, don't touch my thing because that's my thing and that's your thing. And you do your thing and you don't work in my area. And I, you know, and one of the things that we really celebrate here at Fellowship Church is, man, ideas can come from anywhere. And, you know, critique can come from anywhere. And we don't critique to criticize, but we critique to sharpen, to make greater. You know, and so it's like, man, hey, would you look at this? We know we just worked on this. And do you see anything where it could be better? And that could be, you're asking the guy who's, you know, sweeping the hallway, or you're asking the guy who is running kids ministry, who doesn't know anything about production, but it's just fresh eyes. And it's, man, those great ideas and those great insights can come from anywhere. And so it really allows you to work so much better as a team.
Yeah. So speaking of those great ideas and Pastor Ed, ultimate crazy visionary, give us like maybe 2 or 3 stories of the wildest things you guys had to try and figure out how to pull off in production.
Yeah, absolutely. Man, so many. You know, we even this Christmas he did a live drawing. He did a chalk drawing on stage while he was preaching. So he has an art background. Before he got called into full-time ministry, he was an art major while he played basketball at Florida State. So he was on a full ride basketball scholarship and he was an art major. And so he's got this art background. So he loves to kind of dabble in art, does watercolor and all kinds of different things. So he's like, hey, I think I'm going to do a chalk talk for Christmas. I'm like, okay. So, you know, and he's like, I'm going to draw. He did this cool charcoal drawing of the 3 wise men seeking the Christmas star. And his whole message was framed around the Christmas star, and the star that directs us in our lives is Jesus. And it's really cool. But it's like, okay, now he's going to have his back to the audience for like 20 minutes of the message. Like, how are we going to do that? So had to get supplies and different things because he practiced and tried to figure out like, okay, how am I going to do this under 25 minutes? You know, he likes to keep Christmas messages tight so you're not wearing people out because you got a lot of kids and families and first-time guests and stuff like that. So, you know, timeline. And so we're trying to figure out like, how are we going to shoot this? And how are we going to make sure we have camera angles that can see what he's drawing the whole time, but we're not just staring at his back the whole time. So that's one. We ended up using GoPros on stage and different things like that tied into our switcher that we could take different cuts and stuff. So that was a lot of fun. Man, we wanted to do a baptism on stage one time. That was crazy. Our stage is not built for it. The infrastructure in our room, no one had the idea of putting water on top of the platform. It's poured concrete with concrete piers. And so we went to Walmart and bought one of those big Intex pools, like the inflatable ring around it. You can fill it about 3.5 feet deep, whatever. So we're like, we're just going to do it. So we ended up having to figure out how to reinforce and re-engineer the stage to support, I don't know how many 1,000 pounds, per square inch, obviously, water is as you get a pool filled. So we put it on there and we ended up putting jack stands under the stage to reinforce the stage to hold this pool. But we did it and we had live baptisms. I think there's still a little indentation on the platform where the pool lived at one point. But we baptized people like 3 at a time this whole big Sunday. We had a huge call. So that was cool. We've had a tank on stage even recently. That was cool. Found this guy that's got this
not like a fish tank, but you're talking about military tank,
like World War II era. Tank. And made the lid pop so you could get in and out of it or whatever, but had it as a back. We did a series on spiritual warfare and talking about that. So the tank was kind of the setting in the backdrop. So that was pretty cool. Just anything to really grab people's attention. If church is boring, blame the pastor. The Bible's not boring. Jesus isn't boring. The gospel isn't boring. And so, man, we try to bring creative angles to really catch people's attention, especially in Dallas, Fort Worth, man. We're so oversaturated, church, post-Christian kind of world where people think they have God figured out. They think they have Jesus figured out. They think they have the Bible figured out. And they're almost generationally like, that was my grandma. That was my parents did that. But, that has nothing to do with me. I'm going to go live my life. And so, man, anything we can do to try to draw people's attention to the Bible, to Jesus, to the gospel. So we're always just looking at different angles. We don't want to be creative just for creativity's sake. That's not the mission. That's not the end goal of like, hey, how crazy creative can we be? But man, can we do something that'll capture people's attention to give them Jesus? And that's really I think Jesus did that. He told parables. He told stories. He, one of those was the primary way he captured people's attention was through parables. That was modern day media of that time, right? And so we leverage, tech and media. We've had basketball courts on stage. We've had live animals. We've had, we've gotten some hate for it over the years. Your conservative church people that don't know what to do with us go like, oh, look at this mega church. They're sacrilegious but they don't know us and they don't really understand the heartbeat and what we're trying to do. And, they don't see the amount of people that have come to Christ. They don't see the amount of people that have been baptized. And they're just, haters are going to hate. When you're doing something great, when you're doing something that is growing and moving, no matter what it is and what your context is, haters are going to show up and they're going to hate. So, man, we try to be, scripturally sound, but biblically relevant. We try to be attractional to people who don't think that God has anything to do with their lives. Luke said to compel them to come in. Gospel of Luke. So, man, what can we do to compel people to come in? It's if we just do church and we think people are just going to show up because I think those days are gone. I think we want to equip people to be inviters. We want to equip people to, share the gospel and hopefully the radically rescued rescue radically, And so, man, if you have people who have been rescued by Christ and they've seen God turn their life upside down for him, they're going to be so motivated to tell their friends and their neighbors. Like when you go to a new restaurant, what do? Oh man, you got to try this place. It's incredible. It's the same thing with the church. You get someone that comes and they experience Christ and he's changed their life. They're going to leave and they're going to go, man, you got to try my church. You're not going to believe this. This is awesome.
Love it. Blake, are you hoping that one of these wild ideas ended up in a total disaster?
I was going to say, I'm so glad for you that it worked out, but your pool story could have so easily been an amazing disaster story of it falling. I'm surprised the tank was able to come on stage as well. So tell us a moment where it didn't all work out, where you didn't have that forethought to put the extra structures underneath.
Oh yeah, we actually, there was a C3. It was kind of a nightmare where we had a C3 conference where we had this huge drapery set up over the stage, like over the whole stage, like this giant curtain from end to end, like went from the side screen to the side screen, covered the entire platform. And we had about 8 projectors that were all, image mapped across to make this cool image. And the guy was going to stand behind it, and he was lit so you could see him through the scrim, but it was all coordinated with the video that was overlaid the entire time. And we had this whole thing, After Effects project that took, 3 weeks to render, and, audio synced and everything and whatever. So we get to the opening night or whatever, and this thing's supposed to kick off the conference or whatever. And it's all time code locked and everything's ready to go. We hit play. Nothing happens on the screen. Like, you gotta be kidding me. So we stop it, we restart it, hit play. Nothing happens on the screen. Nothing fires. We stop it, start it, play it again. Nothing happens on the screen. I'm on comm now. I'm freaking out, and I'm screaming at our lighting guy who's supposed to be having everything time code locked through his system or whatever. I'm like, man, what is going on? Why is it not working? Take a breath, calm down, try to think, what are we missing here? What are we missing here? Couldn't get it. So we had to have the band. I talked to our worship leader backstage. I was like, you got to just play something. We'll swell, and we're just going to kabuki drop the curtain, and we're going to go on with the conference. So that's what we ended up doing, is like we re-racked everything. We had him start a song. The band swelled. They'd build to this moment, and we just dropped the curtain, and we went to the conference. We blew the whole element. So it's like nightmare. What do you do? You improvise and you roll. But yeah, oh man, we had, I'll give you another one. We had Sennheiser, their previous grade. I don't want to throw hate on Sennheiser, but we had some old Sennheiser gear. We'll just say that. And so we were having wireless frequency issues, and we're right by DFW Airport. So you can imagine there's not a whole lot of space even left to drop. And we run a lot of wireless here. And so, we're having interference and issues and whatever. And this is right at the beginning of conference. And we had rented in a bunch of extra sets of ears. And so, we just made it even more crowded. And we did a frequency coordination earlier that day, and everything was supposed to be great. We get into that night, and it's like half the mics are dropping out. Our main pastor's mic, our speaker's mic, it's nightmare, and it's like we're handing mics off, dropping, you're hearing RF hits and everything in the PA. Absolute nightmare. It's like you want to throw up halfway through. It's like, what is going on right now? So yeah, it hasn't been all roses, but we try to learn from those things. And it's like, okay, what can we do this next time to try to, put some things in place to prevent those things from ever happening again. And honestly, you learn through those pain experiences, those will mark you, and they'll be painful to go through. But oftentimes it's like, those are the ones that there's some of the biggest learning lessons to go through. If you'll, okay, we got to really unpack this and figure out what the heck happened. How do we learn from it? What can we do next time to backfill to make sure we never experience that pain again? But yeah, oh yeah, it's not all roses, man. And when you get into that world, we've done load in, load out events like in Dallas at different parks and stuff like that, where we've worked with other rental companies and stuff like that. And you tell them 20 times the way you want something, and then it shows up and it's not set that way. And, it's like, you got to be kidding me, and here we go, we end up using hardwired mics, because it's like they didn't do what we told them to do. And, just one after another. But that is the production world,
Oh, so fun. Does that give you hives, Blake, just thinking about it?
I don't know if I could keep living. If I just, all the mics dropping out. I mean, the SD card exploded on me, and I already am like, well, I'm not sleeping tonight. So I can't imagine that. Oh yeah. I'm going to be greedy and ask for just another tip. How do you stay steady? In those disaster moments, we never ask this, what's going on in your head to keep you from panicking?
Yeah. I think, just again, being confident in the fact that, I am not what I do. Tomorrow is a new day. The world's not going to end, and it's, I've still got a jersey on. I want to learn from this mistake and how to make sure it doesn't happen again. But yeah, are there times where I feel like, man, I'm freaking out internally? For sure. There's a nervousness. Even Pastor Ed will people ask him all the time, do you still get nervous when you speak? He's been speaking, 40 some odd years or whatever. And it's like, yeah, he's like, I get nervous every time, and there's a healthy side of that. I think that's that pressure, that nervousness, I think also causes us to be on our A game, of like, because I am nervous coming into a weekend or a conference or an event, like it helps me think critically and make sure I've got my I's dotted and T's crossed and things are prepped and ready. So that element of it is good. When things go awry, I think it is, just being able to have great communication with the team around you, to be able to roll, and figure out like, how do we adapt? But, when it does melt down, it's just, man, having that ability just to say, okay, God, you've got this. How can I learn? Again, being willing to say, I'm sorry, I screwed up, we'll make it better. And some of the stuff we talked about before, I think is just the key to staying healthy. You got to take breaks. I think tech guys are oftentimes the ones that we are our own worst enemy, where you'll say, I can't take a break. Well, why? Well, I'm too busy. Well, have you talked to anyone about that? No. Well, I can't talk to anyone about that because they'll say no. Well, you don't know they're going to say no. And that's where it's like, I got guys coming to me, well, I haven't taken a vacation in 3 months. I was like, well, that's your fault. You've never come to me and asked for the time off. I would have gladly given it to you. Let's look at a calendar and figure out, when's a good time for you to take that break. And, hey, why don't you take this week off, or whatever. And again, conversations in our head, conversations in our mind. We think we know what our leader is going to say. We think we know what other people are going to say, instead of being vulnerable and being willing to hash out the pain of whatever the production mistake, the whatever. But don't be a martyr, of like, I'm the only one and no one understands. But dude, that mentality will sink you every time. Christ is with you. God's got you. And then, man, he's commanded you in his word. The right way to do this is to be vulnerable and to talk to your leaders and talk to the right people. And sometimes we talk to the wrong people. And I'll just get that on an aside. Sometimes we talk to the wrong people, and they are going to be the one to tell you to quit. They're going to be the one to tell you to throw in the towel. And that may not be what God wants for you at all. It could be, but it may not be. Yeah. And so I think oftentimes we can go to those empathizers. Sometimes family, they're gonna be the one to tell you, oh, just quit. They want to get you out of the discomfort as quick as possible. You don't need that. Just quit. Just run. Man, you can do something else. But really, God may be using that as a trial and a test, to shape you and to mold you, to make you stronger, to make you better. Has God called you there? I don't know, man. That's a question that you have to be able to answer. But maybe sticking in that from that standpoint will be something that shapes you and molds you and takes you to that next phase and next place. But again, are you willing to be vulnerable? Are you willing to say, I'm sorry? Are you willing to go through that, change, conflict, growth? It's like, and there's that conflict part we get hung up on because we really don't like conflict. We tend to run from conflict, hard conversations, conflict in work environments with coworkers, with bosses, with whatever it is. We don't like that part of it. But if you're willing to work through that conflict and navigate through it, there is great growth on the other side. And the beautiful growth on the other side, and really where God wants to take you. But oftentimes we short circuit that and we throw in the towel, or we say, you know what, I already know the way this is going to go. And I can't do it. So we won't.
Yeah.
Toby, he said to be vulnerable.
Okay. Hit me with it, Blake.
I'm going to really throw us both in the open here.
Okay.
You ever find yourself doing what he said? Like having arguments with people in your head that they've never said these words to you?
All the time. All the time. The worst for me is when I do it with my wife in my head.
Oh.
Because I'm like, what am I doing? Like, my wife's like the other half of me. I know exactly what she's going to say. She knows exactly what I'm going to say. Why am I having these conversations in my head?
So you have yours about your wife, and I have mine about you and Brian. What does that mean?
I have them a lot of people, but it can also be very tempting for me. I can say like, nobody gets it. Nobody understands. Cause like, I'm the only one who owns church gear. And so like, nobody gets it. I have so many friends that are in similar situations of leadership that they can talk me off the ledge. I just need to go to those people that get it, that been there before and love me enough to say like, I get it. Thanks for sharing. All right, let's talk about the truth now.
Yeah, Dave, I really loved you bringing that up earlier. I call this fighting ghost, where I will be mad at someone. Like I've been mad it's been almost 6 years now, Toby. I'll have a moment where I'm mad at Toby and I'm like, Toby didn't even say that to me. What am I doing? And so that was my takeaway from your episode is like, I just want to again affirm everybody to not fight a ghost with people, actually have those real words with them and be vulnerable. So, but I'm greedy, Dave. I want another takeaway. So if we were going to wrap our episode on a tech takeaway from you, what would be your unique piece of advice to a room full of production people?
Yeah, man, I would be encouraged. I want to encourage guys just to say, ask questions, ask lots of questions, be the guy who is, out asking questions to everybody else. It's like, man, if you really want to learn, you really want to hone your craft, you really want to get better at whatever it is you do, man, find someone, I kind of said it a little earlier, but find someone that you admire, find someone that you think in that realm or that sphere of what you do is like killing it. And man, find a way to get in front of them or ask them tons of questions. And, we use the saying, don't let someone outdumb you. It's like, I'm going to outdumb them because I want to ask so many questions of like, I want to see what they know and unpack everything they know so I can learn from them everything I can, and that's to me, the true secret is a lot of people were afraid to ask questions because, oh man, then they're going to think I'm stupid or I don't know what I'm talking about. Or then they're going to think, man, I don't have it all figured out or I don't have all the answers. But man, just continue to be hungry, continue to ask questions, and continue just to try to soak up as much as you can from others that are, like I said, that you admire, that you look at as like, man, that guy or that girl, like they're doing it.
So you have given us so much wisdom today, Dave. I hear you got some more wisdom to give with the conference coming up. So plug the conference, plug the dates if you got them, so Toby can arrive on time this year.
That's right. Yeah, February 18th and 19th. We started the show kind of talking about C3, but it's right around the corner. We would love to have you guys. C3 is a tremendous time of learning. There's a lot of great leadership things out there that you can go online and you can learn about leadership, but we really try to focus C3 on being for the church. It's for church leaders, for pastors, for church staff. It's one we want to, it's a lot of what we talked about today. We want to keep you in the game. We want to equip you. We want to help you have longevity in ministry. If God's called you to do what you do, our heart and passion is to keep you equipped, keep you fired up, keep you plugged in. And so the morning sessions, we'll have kind of general sessions of speaking. And then the afternoons, we do app sessions and breakouts, which are very specialized in particular. Maybe it's building volunteer teams. Maybe it's kids ministry, youth ministry, production. Maybe you want to talk gear. Maybe you want to look at the how-tos. And we do stuff for women's ministry. You name it. We're doing breakouts all across the board with different app sessions, very hands-on. We've got a bunch of community spaces where you can just meet other people at other churches who are doing what you do, rub shoulders with them. And then, man, it's just a great time to, again, see the body of Christ, the church kind of come together and, again, sharpen one another, equip one another, encourage one another. Offer a great deal to everybody watching this podcast. We're going to share a link, $99. You can sign up. I think right now it's like $220 for a regular admission. So just because if you're tuning in this podcast and you say, hey man, I'd love to come, you can get it for $99. We'd love to have you guys come hang out, come say hi to me and the rest of the team. And we'd love to show you around fellowship, show you around C3 and host you guys. So hope you can make it. We'd love to have you. Love it.
Who are some of the key speakers this year?
Yeah, Philip Anthony Mitchell. I'm sure everybody's seen him on social media. He's blowing up. He's everywhere. Church 2819. Obviously, Pastor Ed Young is sharing. Andre Olivier, he's from South Africa. Great pastor, a huge church over in South Africa. Alex Hamaya, he's up in Tulsa, Oklahoma, Battle Creek Church, I think it's called. Great church up there. Bunch of other speakers. Pastor James Ward, he's pastors up in Chicago area. Man, just some incredible communicators. And then again, just Nathan Finocchio will be here. He's doing a breakout, a lunch and learn on youth ministry and theology. So just some great stuff that you can come glean from and rub shoulders with. So would encourage you guys to come be a part.
Love it. All right, Blake, pack your bags. Let's go.
All right. Hey,
do it. Yeah. You guys come too.
I literally said this week, I only ever fly and it's for work with Toby to Texas for some reason. That's how we always end up doing it.
Easy.
Well, Dave, we really appreciate you joining us, man. This was a really wise episode and I'm looking forward to listening to it back.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me. It's been a blast.
Thanks for hanging out with us. We hope to see you back next week for more absurd stories, tech takeaways, and overall buffoonery here at the Church Gear Studios.
All right, Blake. So you remember that story when we sent our buddy Dave Roediger out to C3 to just meet people on Church Gear's behalf, and then somebody was like, "Oh my gosh, you're from Church Gear! I got to introduce you to my dad." Who was their dad?
It was freaking Craig Rochelle.
Yeah, and we want to share that moment because it's so cool.
Yes, so you should share this episode with your friends. Text it to a person that would want to meet Craig Rochelle. Text it to a person that you want to go to C3 with.
Or just text it to Craig Rochelle.